One is the loneliest number that you ever do. Good morning, Rays. It's Saturday. I guess you're wondering what I'm doing here. Well, as some of y'all recall, I didn't have a coffee with KJ yesterday. I had a very busy day yesterday, and as y'all can remember, I said if I didn't show up on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, something is up, right? I had a Christmas party I had to attend last night. OKJ had to make those ham and Swiss sliders on Hawaiian bread. I also had to make my jalapeno popper deals. Did some shopping and all of that. There was just a lot going on yesterday. Good morning, Dee Dee Sunshine, Beach Lady, Elba Lopez, Jill Schneider. So I thought I'd make it up to the Rays because, y'all, the Rays are worth it. Jill Schneider says, good morning. Language of Horses says, hi, babies. Teresa says, good morning, my friends. Janelle Murphy says, good morning, KJ. Diane Renee McDonald, good morning to you. I have been up a little, I'll confess it, I've been up a little bit earlier. Usually when I come on here, I'm just rolled out of bed. Although I look like I have now, I've actually been up a little while. I'm not wearing my jammies. But I do want to share some news that came out yesterday evening. I'm sure y'all are already aware of it, but you know how I roll. I always like to put it on the record since we are covering the Chad Daybell case. A few things that have really kind of popped into my mind, and I thought maybe we could, mow it over together. Good morning, Donna Donald. Good morning, Mark McGarry. So I'm sure y'all know this news, and that is that Chad Daybell's murder trial won't take place in eastern Idaho. It will be in Ada County instead. And didn't we all say that anyway? That, even though the state wanted to make it less expensive and it was just would be more efficient and all that, we all pretty much knew, Yeah, I'm spilling the tea, Donna. In an 8-page order issued Friday afternoon, District Judge Stephen Boyce denied a renewed motion for prosecutors to reconsider a change of venue for the trial due to challenges in finding a fair and impartial jury. Judge Boyce says the reality is, and the state would likely concede, that nearly every responsible, eligible working citizen of Fremont County capable of jury service has followed the Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow story. While the expense of conducting trial in Boise is immense, it is still less expensive than attempting and failing to seat a jury in Fremont County only to thereafter return to Ada County. Boyce noted that he had conducted many trials in Fremont County and has never had any issues with jurors creating problems or serving faithfully. He also wrote that the Fremont County Sheriff's Office is fully capable and competent to oversee a trial of this magnitude, and court clerks are dedicated, experienced, and responsible. But he says, finally, absent the concern about selecting an impartial jury not tainted by pretrial publicity, Fremont County would have been unquestionably an ideal venue for the upcoming trial. And of course, he's got to say that. To have trust in your local judicial system, to, make good comments about the structure there and all that. He had to do that. But there was one thing that really kind of stood out to me. He says a large number of prospective jurors will be necessary to ensure that the balance tips in favor of robust due process to Daybell, particularly, y'all, in light of the potential for capital punishment. Ada County, the most populous county in Idaho, has the resources to impanel an impartial jury and is willing to provide the facilities to conduct the trial. And what stuck out to me is he is saying in his order, he's emphasizing, again, this being a capital case, a death penalty case. And, it'd be real easy for me to say, well, the state really just wanted it easier on themselves, to have it in Fremont County. Of course, they're bringing up the cost of it to agitate people and everything and to make it look like they're doing their job and trying to be efficient and all of that. But really, y'all, I'm reaching here, but I think in some ways, I'm not saying it's the complete way, but in some ways, I think the state knew that they were going to get shot down on this. They wanted it on the record. And they also, I believe that they knew that Judge Boyce would come out with this saying, no, it's going to be in Ada County. But that what was going to be mentioned, that Chad was facing a death penalty case. It reaffirms it at this point that he is still facing the death penalty. Janelle Murphy says, just as in Lori's case, there was a lot of people interested. I think Chad will too. I'm sure there will be a lot of people who would like to attend. So Donna Donald says, this is what we wanted. Okay, so Donna Donald, why don't you, if you can, tell me why this is what we wanted. Mark McGarry said, I did a small survey some months ago in Nez Perez and Latah County, northern Idaho Panhandle. There was a general view Chad would get a fair trial. Well, that's very interesting, Mark. Sorana says, I really hope to see that Daybell kids will accept the situation with their killer dad. Well, you know, all I can say is, you know, I think they're locked in. I think they want to believe. They're just going to believe their dad's innocent and that it's all Lori and Alex's fault. But one can only hope, right, Sorana? Good morning, just me. So the trial will be in Ada County once again. And hey, they got good results there. They put the hussy away for life, right? What I've been thinking about is, you know, we got this other unrelated news about Ruby Frank and Jody Hillebrand and how they're going to have this waiver hearing where they're going to be talking over plea deals. And if they decide to do it during this waiver hearing, they'll give them their sentence. Even though that's in Utah, I'm wondering if there will be a possibility at some point of some form of waiver hearing for Chad Daybell to discuss whether he wanted to do a plea deal or not. I just don't believe that he is like Lori. I think Lori would have took it all the way, and she did. And Chad, on the other hand, I just don't see. I mean, I just don't see him taking it all the way with all the evidence. I mean, he knows what the evidence is. Those Daybell kids think their dad is the Holy Ghost. They want to believe they're special. They won't change, says Language of Horses. Madonna Dipsequal, I'm sorry, I'm just going to call you Madonna. Maybe when the truth comes out at Chad's trial and the proof is in front of them, instead of seeing the light, they will see the dark. Good morning, KJ. I never, ever comment. I feel like I know you. Well, that's wonderful, Madonna, and I apologize that I can't pronounce your last name. Dipasqua. I don't know if I'm saying that right. If I'm not, it's no disrespect on my part. You know, I'm just old country girl here. The Daybell kids are not stupid, and the verdict will be guilty. They will have to reconsider. Janelle Murphy says, Lori even has a delusion when it comes to Chad. Well, there was another thing. When I was over on Difficult Research, and when Lori was being arraigned, and again, I'm not covering Arizona, but I might bring up something relating to Chad Daybell's trial, which is hard to separate them, even though they've got a severed case. They're co-conspirators, so it's hard not to talk about both of them. But this whole thing about she was not in agreement with the 270 days that the state of Arizona requested because it's a complex criminal case. First of all, I think that that's a smart move because, again, everyone was pointing out these trials were going to overlap. And you've got people from Idaho that were witnesses that have to go into Arizona, just as Arizona came into the Idaho trial against the hussy. And so she might not want to be there. I was watching and I posted it on the community wall of Kay Woodcock's interview with Justin Love, and she says she has a source that says that Lori does not like being in Arizona. Well, woe is the Huss, you know? That's just tough. That's just tough. You know, one of the reasons I believe she don't like being in Arizona is because it's a constant reminder of all the people that were there that cared about her kids, cared about her. She had more connections in Arizona. You know, she had to go from Arizona to Idaho in order to murder her children. She had to isolate them away from everyone. Well, in Arizona, she's got all these people that know her, and she knows her little stay in Estrella there, and she's being locked down. She can't get out with the other inmates. She knows people are watching. Good morning, Eric Jasper. Madonna says, I want to get this last name right. You did say it right, but put an E on the end, Deep A Square Lee. Okay, Madonna DiPasquale. I hope I got that right. DiPasquale. Maybe, maybe not. But I do like Madonna. Something in your eyes is making such a fool of me. When I want you in my arms, I love you till I just can't see. But then you turn around, then I don't know the words, y'all, but borderline. Seems like it's going to lose my mind. You just keep on pushing my love over the borderline. Yeah, Language of Horses. I know a lot of songs, but I don't know all the lyrics. I made it through the wilderness. Somehow I made it through. I'm the hussy in Arizona, and I got nothing to do. I was blind and behind. I looked around, and my Chad wasn't there, and he made me feel. Yeah, he made me feel I had a big black hole. I wasn't a virgin. Hey, I'm hussy and I am real loose. I'm not a virgin. Get the 2x4 ready to go. Well, Madonna, cheers to you in your last name. Oh, Beach Lady's having a candy making day, y'all. I like coconut balls. I like peanut butter balls. I like peanut butter brownies. I'm a peanut butter person, but it's got to have chocolate in it. I love fruitcake cookies, but only my mother's recipe fruitcake cookies. I don't like regular fruitcake. I love gingerbread. I love all these things that's going to get me fat. But see, I have an excuse. You see, I absolutely adore nature, and I know that many animals in the animal kingdom, they hibernate, they have to eat a lot. So, okay, Jay's got to eat a lot and gain a lot of weight so I can get ready to hibernate. Language of Horses says, I love peanut butter pretzels. Janelle Murphy says, made some toffee bonds last night. Ooh. I just love Christmas candy, y'all. I just love it. Beach Lady says, bourbon balls. It's baking day here too, says Jill Schneider. Well, anyway, y'all, so I think that this was a way for Boyce to kind of reemphasize that they're still on track with a death penalty case. I don't see, if anybody else does, let me know. Leave it in the comments on the rewatch, or if I see it on here. What reasoning, I mean, John Pryor had a motion wanting the death penalty off, saying if Lori had it off, that Chad should not have the death penalty. Well, don't you find it curious that the easiest thing that Judge Boyce could go ahead and release a ruling on doesn't include the other motions? When are we going to hear about them? The day that we get that motion that Judge Boyce says, well, we can't, I can't take the death penalty off the table for the reasons that you state, John Pryor. I think that this whole idea that Lori got the death penalty taken off because they didn't have evidence turned in time, well, that would have definitely have been an appeals issue. But see, Chad didn't have that worry because he didn't have his speedy trial right there. So he got to go through it all. So that excuse is not going to fly for Chad Boy there. But what other things could happen? I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I think the reason, and this is just an opinion, I think the state slow-walked that DNA stuff at the end there, which made it to where the death penalty was taken off the table for Lori, because the state knew that her being in that facility for 10 months was going to be a very, very major get out of death penalty jail there. They knew that that's what was going to happen. Mark McGarry says, Boyce is clearly in command of the process, a powerful intellect and fairness to process. Chad is toast. I agree with that, Mark McGarry. I think, we've had our ups and downs with Judge Boyce. I think on my part, I couldn't see fully and clearly why he would make the legal decisions he did. But now looking back in retrospect, and now that the appeals are going on for the hussy, we're going to find out that he did everything the right way. And he couldn't please everyone. I think he tried to be as balanced and as neutral as possible. I truly believe that one day we will all be together the day they give the death penalty to Chad. Well, language of horses, you know how I feel about it. I don't look at like KJ believes in the death penalty, capital punishment. But I do believe in Holy Scripture, it talks about respect for authority and not being lawless and breaking laws and stuff, and that there's earthly consequences to that. And I do believe in that. So in that vein, it's exactly what they both need. They both are serial killers. I mean, to the, fourth, maybe even the fifth degree. We know of at least 4 murder victims, and plus poor Joe Ryan. Good morning, Kathy. Yeah, Kathy, I don't usually come on Saturday, but I missed yesterday because I had a lot of things going on. And then I woke up this morning with that news about what we pretty much all knew, that they were not going to move that trial back to Fremont County. I knew they wouldn't do that. But he's come out in it, and I'm curious to know why he hasn't come out with the other motions decisions, specifically about the death penalty. It's curious to say the least. So just kind of switching gears, because I'm kind of going in between the two when I'm thinking about this question about whether Chad Daybell is going to get the death penalty or not. And sometimes I see things a little bit differently as this Ruby Frank and Jody Hillebrand. See it through. I mean, do any of y'all really believe that Jody Hillebrand and Ruby Frank is going to be like, no, I want a full-fledged trial? Do they seem like the type that want everything aired out? I never could see them going to trial myself. I think one of y'all said that, and please forgive me, you know who you are, said that you could see Jody Hillebrand making a deal, but that Ruby Frank will act like she didn't do anything wrong. But even if Ruby Frank was really in her heart of hearts feeling like she didn't do anything wrong and she didn't want to take a plea agreement, does she really want to go there now that her husband's filed for divorce, her kids are wherever they're at? I think her most important thing right now is just to get back with Jody. Y'all, I really believe that there's something unnatural going on between Ruby and Jody. And I'm not just saying that just to be controversial. It's just it just feels that way to me. Janelle Murphy says Ruby can throw Jody under the bus. I don't think for a second, Janelle. I don't think Ruby will do that. I really don't. We got those media reports from that one girl that was in there when Ruby and Jody came in, and all Ruby talked about is, they're separating us. Where's my friend? I want to be with my friend. Yeah, right. So it never occurred to me, even knowing they were sitting in jail as long as they were on all these aggravated child abuse charges, I never saw past it. I never saw it said they were going to have a trial. And really what would be revealed would be very interesting, because and I know that this whole idea of Jody Hillebrand being referred by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, all that stuff would come out. They would have to, that would be very interesting to have a trial, but I just don't think they're going to, y'all. And I think the bottom line, I guess the optimal thing is to, if they're going to take plea deals, spend some time in jail, get out and maybe have 5 years of probation, like where you have to go to the probation officer at least once a week, attend certain classes about parenting, not be around the kids. Yeah, the Betty Boop, when you say Jody had hands on those kids, well, this goes back to this whole thing about Lori, right? She was the mother of JJ and Tylee. Did she have hands on the kids, or did she let Alex and Chad do it all? What matter? What difference does it make? What I'm saying is Ruby knew that Jody was doing these things, using cayenne pepper for wounds. And by the way, I challenge any of you to type in Joseph Smith cayenne pepper. See what you come up with. You'd be shocked. You know what? They were using that stuff a long time ago. And you know what they were using it for? They even have examples in some of this stuff. I might even put it on the community wall. And I shared it with Cresha. I thought she might cover it at the time, but she never did. Where that cayenne pepper is supposed to heal that up to where no one knows that you've been abusing them. Now, that's not what is stated. It just says this guy, he put it on his wound, and it completely went away. No scar, nothing. Well, I'm assuming Jody wanted to get rid of her dirty work and put cayenne and, honey on it. Maybe some of y'all use that stuff. I don't know, but what I get out of it is that the crap happened, the abuse happened, the wounds happened, and they were trying to figure out a way to get those wounds to heal up quickly where no one would know it. That's my view. Janelle Murphy says, glad Kevin is getting a backbone and divorcing Ruby. Sad, but at least he's out of that triangular mess. Madonna says, pretend it's all Jody's fault. I honestly get the vibe that Jody and Ruby are you know how you say a couple. Yeah, they are, Madonna. That's my opinion. Allegedly, right? Betty Boop said Kevin didn't just wake up and be dad. He never was and is culpable. And there are people on both sides of that argument. The Bethy Boop, some people think this is just his way of walking away from what he was involved in. And I mean, we don't know what happened in terms, well, at least I don't. Maybe some of y'all do. I try to keep up with the Reddit stuff, but, he wants those kids back. And what's going to happen with Ruby if she takes a plea deal? She'll spend some time in jail. There's no way that Ruby or Jody, if they come out and give them a deal where they get to walk out the damn door, someone's hiding something. Because anybody else does it and they get jail time, a lot of it. Paula says, I believe Lori had her hands on murdering JJ and Tylee. Well, they did find that hair, and of course that could be excused away for many reasons, but I don't think any of us are really ever going to know the truth of that. The only thing that it was her and Alex over there at the apartments. Chad wasn't over there the night of September 8th. Chad and Lori were together at some point the weekend of Melanie Gibb with JJ. But don't you find it interesting that OKJ said that it was overnight between the 22nd and 23rd? That was my hypothesis, and it's stated in the state's core case against Chad Daybell. They don't just say September 22nd. They don't say September 23rd. They say September 22nd and 23rd. I believe it. I believe Melanie Gibb, David Warwick. I believed Lori and Chad. I mean, why is Melanie Gibb calling Chad and Lori that late that evening? They know what's going on. Yes, Jennifer Esslinger. I just let everybody know that news. And just to be clear, y'all, if I'd have known this yesterday, I would have found some time to let y'all know. But I guess it dropped late in the evening, and I didn't get to it till this morning. Judge Boyce does say that it's going to be in Ada County. He's concerned about basically the jury pool and finding jurors that can give the Chin his due process and a fair trial. Absent the concern about selecting an impartial jury, he would have had it in Fremont County. Not tainted by pretrial publicity, he would have had it in Fremont County. And he goes on to talk about how the people in Fremont County are very good people, that they could have handled it and all this and that. But of course, he's got to say that. Yeah, Kathy, that's true. When you say the jury pool is tainted all the way to the ends of the universe, that's true. And they didn't find jurors in Lori's trial that all of them didn't know nothing about the case. Some of them knew some. When they did all that questioning of jurors and all this, now here this leads into we know what went into all of that with Lori. Remember, Nate Eaton was saying so many of these juries were dismissed. These potential jurors were dismissed. Well, now we're talking about a capital case. And so you have to throw in that question now, can you, if the law says in Idaho that you can put someone to death, can you do it? There's a whole different set of questions there. And the state did bring up, since Lori's trial, it has awakened people in Ada County more, than they would have initially. Now that her trials happened and everything, there's more people in Ada County that know about it that probably didn't know much about it. But again, when Wayne and I went to that courthouse, when we went to Idaho just to check things out, as y'all recall, I shot some little short vids of going in there, going through the metal detector, walking around out front because they wouldn't let you in the courtrooms, even the courtrooms that were empty. They wouldn't let you look at them. There was a big poster talking about It was a very, the statistics of how, the jury pool in Ada County, and it was pretty large. And really, y'all, this whole thing about the concentrations of LDS over there in Fremont County, it is the most concentrated over in that area. And when Wayne and I went through Idaho, and we went down there down to Boise and went to some of the shops and saw a lot of people out shopping and stuff. It's pretty diverse. There's all different races of kinds of people, different kinds of diverse populations in Boise. So, right, Eric, and that's John Pryor's argument. There's a reason we have that death penalty. Chad and Lori's part of that reason. They both deserve it, in my opinion. And the bottom line is, and this is just being straight with y'all, if in fact they want to use the excuse that they didn't get DNA turned in time, and so they had to scrap the death penalty for Lori, it was a technicality. Is that strong enough right there for Chad to, Chad's like, well, so unless I have some kind of error or something, or information isn't turned over, I don't get the same deal. Y'all, one side of me says that this easy ruling of not having it in Fremont County, when the judge emphasizes that this is, well, he says particularly in light of the potential for capital punishment, that's his way of saying this is moving forward. That's part of me. And then there's another part of me that says he's going to come out in a ruling on John Pryor's motion and take that death penalty off the table. So I'm split. Right, just me. If John Pryor wouldn't have fought so hard to sever that case and say they would have been joined at the time, number one, I don't think the state would have slow walked. You see what I'm saying? Because in my opinion, y'all, this is just me, strategy wise, this is what I say. I think they took that off, the death penalty off the table, using that as a pretext. But their whole motivation was they knew they weren't going to get what they wanted to get for Lori because of her stay at the facility. They knew that was going to be an uphill battle because that's a mitigating factor in favor of her not getting the death penalty. And so it would have really been a waste of time for the state. And so, in my opinion, I can't prove it's just a feeling that they use that, because there's no reason that they should have not had their stuff together. I mean, what? They've had this stuff for over 2 years, and then they slow walk everything. So will they get to a point where they'll slow walk something for Chad and he'll end up just facing life in prison? Or will they say, hey, here we go. We're the state of Idaho. We're going to try this death penalty case, and we're going to give it our all. Because when the rubber meets the pavement, it's nothing in it at all that two people that conspire to murder, and then you add the caveat that one not only conspired to murder, which is Chad Daybell, but he actually is charged with first. He could get the death penalty just for Tammy. So if you took aside his participation in the conspiracy with the children and just looked at Tammy, he could get the death penalty. So that's where the state has an ace in the hole on that. Because if it was all about Chad and Lori conspired to murder the kids and say they left it in Alex's hands to do the heavy lifting, and they both got, and that's all it was, it had nothing to do with Tammy, then I could see if they take the death penalty off the table for Lori, they'd have to do it for Chad. But because Chad has a different charge, yes, Lori was convicted of conspiring to murder Tammy, and legally speaking, she gets the same penalty, life in prison for that. But the actual first-degree murder of his spouse, that's really egregious. That's really bad. And even when we were discussing the state's core theory when the state said that Chad did all this for base desire. In other words, Chad did it because he wanted to get off with his little willy, with his little cucumber, his little gherkin there. Base desires, that's egregious. That's one of the things you can check on when a juror decides whether to give the death penalty or not. Was this egregious? And if it's proven that all this was about was Chad wanting to get off, that's sick. That's real sick. And it wasn't just about that, that he wanted to get off to please Lori. I think he enjoyed the power that he thought he had. I think it sexually aroused him. That's just, is anything really, like that statement right there, is that really too far-fetched, y'all? When you consider what has happened? Well, yeah, just me. I've been screaming that forever, that Chad should have been charged in Charles's murder. And, this whole thing that maybe they'll find evidence or whatever and charge him later on, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they just looked at these circumstantial situations where Chad is calling the funeral home and Chad's conversing with Lori and Alex. And obviously, none of them texts would have said, yes, you've got to go shoot Charles or anything. I could understand why Arizona said they didn't have enough for Chad. But we all know he's guilty. Kay Woodcock, in her interview with Justin Lum, she's made herself abundantly clear. We all know where Cresha stands. So, it is a travesty of justice that he isn't there. But wouldn't it be interesting, y'all, that Lori has to deal with Chad going through a death penalty case, her king? You think it's going to bother her much? I think it's going to just tear her apart. Is Chad's insurance fraud part of this case or separate issue? The money he gave to his attorney. The Betty Boop, he's been charged with insurance fraud. So what all that encompasses, it's all part of it. There's a charge that's put in there with the first-degree murder and the conspiracy to murder. It's all together. Mark McGarry says that was the reason Pryor wanted paid for expert review at that process and evidence. Jennifer says, good point, Mark. Yes, tools and location of remains. Well, again, Mark, this whole idea that John Pryor is saying there is a raccoon that's been buried there. Well, number one, it's his property. He could have someone come in, a company that has to go through a chain of custody, a forensic crew or whatever. He could do all of that. And would it be worth it to put that seed of doubt in a juror's mind? Yes. But he hasn't done it because there isn't. If there is a raccoon buried, it ain't in that pet cemetery. Number two, if there was another pet cemetery that he was speaking of in the text message, what wasn't they saying back in August? They've got proof that Chad might have shot a raccoon because Garth told a neighbor that. So there's a reason why John Pryor is not bearing down on that to try to look into that situation. And by the way, it was brought up about this overlap with Lori and Chad's trials and everything. Y'all, it's not going to happen. The state of Arizona is going to get their 270 days of a complex criminal trial, and that's a good thing. Because when we've got witnesses coming from both states, that can be a problem. And not only that, think about it like this. If they do get their 270 days, and Chad's being tried April 1st, I'm not saying he would do it, y'all, but John Pryor, as crazy as he is, he could summon Lori as a witness. And if she's in the middle of all this pretrial stuff and everything, they're not going to release her back to go and testify for the defense. But wouldn't that be wild? If John Pryor could get his way and Lori had to come back and she got on the stand and said, this was all me and Alex. Chad had nothing to do with this so she could protect her king. Wouldn't that be wild, y'all? It's not in the realm of impossibility. But y'all recall Archie said in Lori's trial that he had no witnesses on a list. He was just going to rely on the state's witnesses, as y'all recall. Does anyone believe that John Pryor's going to stand up and say, I don't have any witnesses other than some experts, but I have no other witnesses. I'm just going to rely on the state's witnesses to cross-examine them. You know, y'all, he's going to bring in someone other than experts. I just believe that. I think he's going to go for overkill. I just do. Hello, Madam August Butterfly. Well, Jill Schneider, I guess Chad Daybell, if he had an ace in the hole where he could at least point some reasonable doubt about another raccoon they found on the property, he really doesn't have anything to rebuff burning limb debris within minutes of Alex being on the property. And the fact that they found Tylee's chain in there, and they know that they burned up Tylee. So, yes, Jill Schneider, John Pryor is going to put on a real defense. He's going to upset a lot of people because he is going to try to plant seeds of doubt by doing what? He's going to attack the good people, you know, that like, say, Brandon Boudreaux, Kay Woodcock. You know, these people have got to testify in Chad's trial, and John Pryor's going to attack them. And it's going to make me want to beat the shit out of him, but of course, me being here in Tennessee, I ain't going to be able to do it. But there are going to be a lot of things that are brought up. Y'all, perfect example, Jodi Arias. Anything that she could do to attack the victims. Now, they're going to have a problem attacking innocent children and innocent Tammy there. But they're going to find something to have the little shiny object, the red herring, whatever. Paula says, I think text messages will prove Chad's involvement in all the murders. Well, we've already seen that in Lori Hussey Daybell's trial. What I'm trying to find out, you know, in my own mind about what we're going to see is whether or not there are text messages besides the Viola and Julie Rose knocking on the door bullshit. Is there something else that shows, this is just an example, Chad murders Tammy before he murders her. Is there any evidence there that they can look at, whether it's forensic, whether they could have DNA evidence of Alex at the scene? Because, y'all, I'm not saying Chad all alone in his bedroom murdered Tammy. Alex was down the street at the church, and he could have very well hopped down there, and one of them had to hold her down while the other asphyxiated her. So, you know, I'm just saying that I believe that they both worked together on that. They waited for his kid to leave for work, and then Alex came down there. I believe it. Because this bullshit that John Pryor wants to say Alex came down there and murdered Tammy, what? Chad Daybell's in bed asleep and Alex slips in there and murders Tammy? Give me a break. It ain't going to fly. No juror in their right mind is going to deal with that. Janelle Murphy, I believe it. I believe John Pryor is going to roast a lot of people, and I hope he roasts Melanie Gibb, Melanie Pulaski, which I don't even know she'll testify. She got out of Lori's. David Warwick, Zulema. He's going to roast them to a well done. He's going to put them on a skewer and start turning. Because Chad's going to give him all the ammo he needs. Chad knows everything that Zulema and all them were involved in. And the state really needs to really consider how they could lose this case. Or at least, you know, if anybody's going to lose this case against one or the other, it would be losing a case against Chad Daybell because the state made a deal with the devil. All John Pryor has to do is take these people and let the jurors think, hey, any one of them could have done this because they were part of the cult. Any one of them could have done this, could have helped do this. Melanie Gibb was over there the weekend. She could have been one of the ones that put the garbage bag over his head. And we know that's not going to fly in our view, but a jury could see it that way, reasonable doubt. Mark says Pryor understands the scope of high profile, the attention to detail. He really changed his delivery and simpering post persona to a more well-spoken aspect. Yep, Mark, John Pryor is he's going to be a good defense attorney, y'all. I'm not taking up for him. I'm just telling you, he's going to be a good defense attorney. Pure and simple. And you know what? I'm just going to say this. Archie and Thomas would have been good defense attorneys had Lori given them more time. But she wanted her speedy trial. They had to work with what they had to work with. By the way, as many of y'all know, Archie has been assigned to that asshole who murdered his wife and that little baby, that Best guy, you know, the guy that was naked, that got taken to the hospital, should have been taken to jail. Archie is his attorney now. So KKB says, that's what I'm thinking too, Paula. Anything between Chad and Alex would not come in at Horry's trial. Well, I thought we got a little bit about Alex and Chad in Lori's trial. That's it, Kathy. Jeremy Best. Yeah, can you believe that? It almost makes me feel sorry for Archie. He's one of the few death penalty attorneys in Idaho, so you can imagine what his life is like. NF Melanie Neese she'll just pull another I've seen pretrial coverage, and they won't have her testify. She did it in Lori's trial, she'll do it in this one. But this time around, they should damn hold her ass in contempt of court. That's what I say. So the bottom line is Chad's trial is definitely it's not gonna get moved anymore. It's gonna start on April 1st. Ada County's already got it slated and scheduled in there. They've already been there with Lori's trial, so this is their second rodeo. They already know the people there. They know how security's gonna work. They know all of that. Plus, there's a larger pool of people. And Lori's Arizona case is going to get moved out further. And, you know, that's just what I see. Jill Schneider says, Pryor is annoying as F, but if I ever got charged with a crime, I would want a lawyer like him. Well, there you go, y'all. He is absolutely fighting for Chad Daybell. But what's interesting about it is, you know, he wanted so bad to sever those cases. If he'd have just kept them together, would the state have withheld that DNA evidence and then caused the death penalty to be taken off the table for both of them at the same time? One can only wonder. I wonder, ooh, who wrote the book of love? Tell me, baby, who wrote the book of love? So, you know, we got that out of the way. Chad Daybell, you know, there's going to be some more pretrial things that's going to happen. We'll hear from Judge Boyce on this death penalty thing, y'all. And if Judge Boyce finds a legal reason to take that death penalty off the table, it's going to really piss me off. But we could, y'all. Now that we know cameras in the courtroom, we could actually see Chad Daybell going to a trial in a death penalty case. I've never ever seen anything like it, y'all, and I never will again. So I want to change the subject real quick because this goes back to what I've been thinking about with the Chad Daybell case. And that's this plea deal thing with Ruby and Jody. First and foremost, y'all, that's going to be, I'm definitely going to be interested in that. That's got to be televised. Kathy, Mama Bear, do you know if those waiver hearings, they're both separated? Are they going to be, are they going to be like behind closed doors? Do you know? Because whatever's worked out, it's got to be in relation to what the judge thinks needs to be done about those children in terms of Ruby. Jody, on the other hand, I don't know, if she gets supervised release or something and she gets to go back to her life, I don't know what the hell. I mean, they have come out now in articles talking about nobody is exempt from if they want to be a life coach. The legislature in Utah is mowing things over, trying to say, well, maybe we should put this in law. But Jody could come right back out and do all this life coaching crap all over again. And yes, folks, if there are people out here that still attend Julie Rose bullshit, they'll attend Jody Hillebrandt's crap. There are always going to be people out here that are weak-minded that are going to go and do that. So, thank you, Kathy. I just want to know that those children, especially the underage ones, I just want to see them being protected from Ruby. She needs some serious therapy, y'all. I'm no professional, but if somebody can suck you in that quick, and it's not even that. Sometimes these people, they have to have a pretext to do something that they wouldn't normally do, i.e. split up with their husband. Oh, if she has to see somebody. Yes, me and Kevin we're separated right now, but that's because we're going through therapy. That sounds so much better than Ruby just wanting to go off with her friend Jody there. Yes, NF Mom, that's what Kevin Frankie's attorney has said, that's his whole goal is to get the kids. Again, this goes back to why hasn't Chad Daybell divorced Lori? This, of course, that has nothing to do with kids or nothing, but it sure does make Kevin look a little more credible to divorce her. I mean, it might just be a strategy move. Who knows? Maybe down the road they get back together after everything blows over. Rachel Black says Utah's really light on sentencing, so I won't be surprised if they get off easy. If they get a heavier sentence, it tells me they've upset the people in power, especially with the bad press they've caused. Good point, Rachel Black. Oh, yeah, Sheila Forrest. We really enjoyed the Ray surprise, Wayne and I. Bubba and Chad. Oh, Lord. Which reminds me, again, y'all, I do have some playwright skills. A little bit, maybe amateurish. But I'm going over the James and Elena document all over again. And I'm thinking I might put it into like a 5 or 6 part series. In other words, 5 to 6 skits of that James and Elena story. And the only reason it isn't just for entertainment or to make people laugh, but it's just like this whole thing with Erin Patterson. We got in the kitchen with the, the beef Wellington just to put our hands on it to say, what would she have had to do? And could she have really put those mushrooms in there? Sometimes you got to get those. There's the global learners and the linear learners. The global learners are the ones that are hands-on. Linear learners are more like in books and instructions and stuff like that, reading and stuff. And I think for the most part, people have a little bit of both, but some people lean more heavily on global or lean more heavily on linear learning. And so I thought, instead of just, let's look at it. Let's look at what he has setting up the scene. For instance, he's driving down the road at the beginning of it. I mean, think about that. I mean, think about it. He can only put what he's going to put in a paragraph, but there are other things that you can attach to all of that. He leaves out while he's driving down the road thinking about Elena after the conference. He's leaving out, I got to go home to my wife. I'm a capital L loser. I don't make a lot of money. My wife is the breadwinner. And to top it all off, I got to go home to this woman I've lived many years with that I'm not really having sexual arousal or erections or anything. And I got an immediate erection when she hugged me, when Elena hugged me. There's other things that can be attached. He can put what he wants in a paragraph in his stupid James and Elena, but if you look at the whole environment behind it and what he really had to have been thinking during that time, he couldn't have just been thinking what was in those paragraphs, because there's other things going on in that dumbass's life. So we're going to explore it. KJ's going to probably hit y'all from all directions. It's in the works. Trust me, I do everything with purpose. Gina Jackson, I don't deserve an Oscar. Wayne probably does. But I really do like the chin though. Don't y'all like that chin? That prosthetic. It really sums it up. We make fun of the chinster and say the chinster, whatever. But really, no matter what part of his body, we all know which part he was thinking with. Rachel Black, when you talk about they go light on everyone, I mean, I think about Florida and Timothy Ferritter and how he's having to spend several years in prison. Does Utah value the deterrence of child abuse? We're going to find out. How long have they been in jail so far, right? Because even if they're sentenced to something, it's what? You're sentenced to this amount of time and then we'll subtract what you've already spent in there. Eric, I'm going to tell you what, to get Mr. Wayne to sit down and put on a wig and act silly with me, it's just incredible. Really, it is. I'm seeing a side to him. I don't have to coach him. I don't have to, I do put a little script in front of him to let him go to his guidelines, but some of it he doesn't even say. He just comes up with his own stuff, especially when I can't hold my shit together. I can't help it. That's my biggest flaw. Whenever I see him or I'm talking about something funny, I lose it and I start laughing, and I hate that. I want to stay in character, but it never works out. It never does. Oh, Jennifer Esslinger says, I'm in the process of creating my own chin version to wear. There you go, Jennifer. You going to put a skit on for all of us? I hope so. Oh, I went back and reviewed the video, not to really watch it, but when you go to review it, one of the things that you can do on YouTube is watch the live stream as it starts and everything, because at the time you're getting into character and you're not really able to read what everyone's saying. So I have to go back, and I do that on all Coffee with KJ's and everything. I go back because I miss a lot sometimes. And I've always said I read all your comments, and I really do. I have to go back and rerun the live stream. It's a thing you can do on YouTube. It's really kind of funny when I do these skits. Some of y'all just are just flat blasted. It's just so funny. It really is. It just makes me laugh even that much more. Teresa says, he's a good sport. I don't think I could get my husband to do that. So this weekend, I've got to obviously do the domestic things of our life. I've got laundry to do. I've got a few things I've got to clean up and get ready for. We're supposed to have rain all weekend long, so I'm stuck indoors. Again, if there is a time that I am not available, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Coffee with KJ, there's a very good reason for that. And I appreciate y'all understanding that, but I felt like I gypped y'all yesterday. And with this news with Chad, I wanted to go ahead and put it on the record. I thought about just doing a pre-record about it, but then I thought, no, I missed live with them yesterday. I love them all so much. Love spending time with them. Beach Lady says, that skit was my favorite. I was crying. I laughed so hard. Oh, well, take care, Eric Jasper, and take care of all of y'all. I'm so glad y'all were able to join me this morning. Please leave in the comments any suggestions that y'all might have on any of the James and Elena. If you are that type of a producer type, you know what I'm saying? Like if you think of anything that you could give me an idea about, I'd love to hear it. We'll get back together real soon. I love you all. Have a great rest of the weekend and keep on looking.